Some legends were not born loud. They were born hidden. In 1970s Japan, ordinary-looking sedans and coupes carried secrets so powerful that authorities eventually stepped in. They blended in perfectly until you hit the throttle. Then came banned technology, outlaw engines, emissions fears, and racing scandals that pushed these sleepers into the shadows. Most people never knew they existed. Today, they are rare, forgotten, and in many places, completely illegal. Let's uncover the 12 JDM sleepers so far ahead of their time that the world had no choice but to shut them down. 12. Mitsubishi Lancer 1600 GSR A70. It looked like a simple little 1970s sedan. Boxy, friendly, almost harmless. The kind of car you'd see parked outside a grocery store, not tearing through some of the harshest rally stages on the planet. But hidden under that modest shell was a rally assassin. The Lancer 1600 GSR packed a high-revving 1.6-liter inline-4, producing around 110 horsepower, about 100 pound-feet of torque, and thanks to its feather-light weight, tight gearing, and rear-wheel drive, it punched way above its class. On paper, it hit 60 miles per hour in roughly 9.5 seconds. But the real story wasn't 0 to 60. It was how brutally fast and unshakable it was over dirt, rocks, and desert. This quiet little sedan shocked the world by dominating the East African Safari Rally, a race so brutal it destroyed entire fields of competitors. Its repeated success helped trigger stricter homologation demands and tougher emission standards, and over time, many versions of the GSR became difficult, or outright illegal, to import into certain markets without heavy modification. It had flaws. It was loud, raw, and far from comfortable. But to those who knew its true identity, the 1600 GSR wasn't a humble commuter. It was a forbidden rally legend, a tiny giant killer Japan built long before anyone realized it was rewriting the rules. 11. Isuzu Bellet 1600 GTR. It looked like a small, polite 1970s coupe. Clean lines, compact body, nothing that screamed danger. The kind of car you'd expect a school teacher to drive, not a street weapon hiding under the radar. But the Isuzu Bellet 1600 GTR was Japan's first true GTR, before the Skyline stole the spotlight. Under its lightweight shell lived a high-revving 1.6-liter inline-4, pushing 130 horsepower, 110 pound-feet of torque, and launching to 60 miles per hour in roughly 8.7 seconds, shockingly quick for its era. Rear-wheel drive, a tight-ratio gearbox, and a suspension tuned directly from its racing program made it corner like a much bigger machine. Every turn felt sharp, deliberate, almost mischievous, and that's where problems began. Emissions laws of the mid-70s hit hard, and the GTR's twin-carb, high-compression engine couldn't meet tightening global standards. Import hurdles, safety restrictions, and homologation changes eventually made it impossible to bring into many countries, pushing this early JDM legend into obscurity. Today, the Bellet GTR stands as a forbidden pioneer, a forgotten giant slayer that proved Japan could build world-class performance long before anyone was paying attention. If you're enjoying these forgotten JDM outlaws, hit like and drop a comment. It helps more people discover the legends the world tried to erase. 10. Subaru Leone 1400 RX. At first glance, it looked like a simple 1970s family box. Square, sensible, and almost too polite to make noise. The kind of coupe you'd expect to see delivering groceries, not hunting down rally stages. But the Subaru Leone 1400 RX hid something rare for its era: early Japanese all-wheel drive. Its 1.4-liter flat 4 produced around 80 horsepower and 76 pound-feet of torque, giving it far more grip than its rivals ever expected. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 13 seconds, and top speed hovered around 93 miles per hour. As Subaru pushed it into rough terrain rallies, its traction advantage quickly became obvious. That success, combined with tightening emissions rules and new safety regulations of the 1970s, led many markets to restrict restrict or block RX imports altogether. Today, the 1400 RX is rare and, in many regions, illegal to import without major compliance work. But for those who know its story, it remains a forgotten pioneer, the humble Subaru that quietly shaped the future of AW drive performance. 9. Toyota Corona 2000 GT RT104. It looked like a sensible 1970s family sedan, plain, upright, and almost too polite to ever be called fast. The kind of car you'd expect to blend quietly into traffic. But the Toyota Corona 2000 GT hit a surprisingly lively heart, a 2-liter inline-4 producing about 140 horsepower and 130 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 10.5 seconds, and top speed was around 115 miles per hour. Not supercar numbers, but paired with a lighter chassis, dual carburetors, and rear-wheel drive, it gave the Corona a sharpness no one expected. Drivers called it a gentleman's sleeper, calm on the outside, eager underneath. As emissions rules tightened in the late 1970s, the 2000 GT's carbureted setup failed to meet new standards in several regions. Import restrictions, safety updates, and certification hurdles soon followed, quietly pushing this model off many markets-approved lists. It had its flaws: thirsty fuel use, stiff ride, and tuning that needed regular attention, but it still delivered a refined balance of comfort and spirited driving. Today, the Corona 2000 GT remains a forgotten sleeper, a clean, conservative sedan that carried more attitude than its looks ever admitted. 8. Toyota Crown MS75 2.8. It looked like a luxury cruiser from the 1970s. Big chrome, long body, soft lines. Nothing about it suggested speed. It seemed built for comfort, not for bending rules. But the Toyota Crown MS75 2.8 carried a surprisingly strong engine for its class, a 2.8-liter inline-6 producing around 145 horsepower and 150 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 11 seconds, and top speed was around 118 miles per hour. For a heavy luxury sedan of its era, those numbers were quietly impressive. Its smooth, straight-six, rear-wheel drive layout and refined suspension made it feel stable at high speeds, far more confident than its formal looks suggested. It wasn't a sports car. It was a sleeper wrapped in luxury, a car that could outrun rivals while keeping its passengers in silence. But tightening emissions regulations in the late 70s created problems. The carbureted 2.8-liter engine struggled to meet new standards in several countries, and many markets began rejecting imports of this specific Crown generation. Safety requirements changed too, leaving the MS75 unable to meet updated crash structures without major redesigns. It wasn't perfect. Fuel consumption was high, handling felt soft, and parts weren't cheap. But the Crown MS75 2.8 offered smooth, hidden performance few expected. Today, in many regions, it sits on restricted or banned import lists, a forgotten luxury sleeper from Japan's early performance era. 7. Nissan Violet 710 SSS. Most people walked right past the Nissan Violet 710 SSS without a second glance. Nothing about its narrow body or simple grille suggested this little sedan was about to become one of the toughest machines Japan ever sent into battle. Beneath that plain exterior, the SSS hid a surprisingly capable powertrain. Its 1.8-liter inline-4 produced around 115 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 11.2 seconds, and top speed was around 112 miles per hour. Those numbers looked ordinary on paper, but on rough terrain, they became something far more dangerous. What set the Violet apart wasn't brute force, it was endurance. On the infamous East African safari rally, where heat, dust, rocks, and wildlife destroyed cars far stronger on paper, the Violet refused to die. Lightweight, balanced, and almost unbreakable, it finished races that others abandoned halfway through. But rising emissions laws, new homologation demands, and shifting safety standards in the mid-70s eventually worked against it. Several versions of the SSS became restricted or outright banned from import in multiple markets, quietly transforming this once accessible sedan into a rare outlaw. Today, the 710 SSS lives on as a survivor's car, humble on the outside, relentless underneath. A forgotten warrior from the 70s 70s that earned its illegal status not through flash, but through sheer resilience. 6. Toyota Celica 2000 GT. The Toyota Celica 2000 GT didn't shout for attention. Sleek, tidy, almost elegant. It looked more like a stylish weekend cruiser than a machine capable of surprising bigger competitors on tight roads. But beneath that calm exterior was a sharper personality. Inside its lightweight frame sat a serious engine. Its 2-liter inline-4 produced around 140 horsepower and 130 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 9.8 seconds, and top speed was around 118 miles per hour. For the early 70s, this turned the Celica into a quietly potent coupe. Sharp steering, a balanced chassis, and rear-wheel drive made it feel naturally confident in corners. It wasn't built to show off, it was built to handle, to carve, to stay composed even when pushed hard. But global emissions rules tightened quickly in the mid-70s. The high-compression, twin-carb setup struggled to comply, and several markets restricted or blocked imports of the 2000 GT entirely. It had its flaws: fuel consumption, rust issues, and tuning that needed attention, but none of that overshadowed its true identity. Today, the Celica 2000 GT is remembered as a clean-looking coupe with unexpected bite, a sleeper that quietly slipped into illegal territory as regulations changed around it. 5. Honda Prelude, 1st Gen 1978. The 1st Gen Honda Prelude didn't look intimidating at all. Small, neat, almost delicate. More of a stylish city cruiser than a performance threat. But the moment someone actually drove it, the Prelude revealed a personality nobody expected from a late 70s commuter coupe. Honda engineered it with surprising precision for its time. Its 1.8-liter inline-4 produced around 90 horsepower and 100 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 12.5 seconds, and top speed was around 102 miles per hour. Not headline numbers, yet paired with its lightweight and sharp steering, the Prelude felt far more eager than its spec sheet suggested. Independent suspension at all 4 corners gave it an agility rare in affordable Japanese cars of the era. It wasn't built to dominate straights. It was built to flow through corners, smooth and predictable, almost sporty despite its polite appearance. But emissions regulations changed fast at the end of the 1970s. The Prelude's carbureted setups and early emissions equipment struggled to match new requirements, and several regions placed restrictions or outright blocked certain configurations from import. Safety compliance updates also left early models out of alignment with newer standards. Of course, it had drawbacks: modest power, simple interiors, and engines that demanded regular tuning. But its charm wasn't in raw numbers. Today, the 1st Gen Prelude stands as a quiet pioneer, a stylish little coupe that delivered more finesse than anyone expected, only to slip into restricted status as regulations evolved around it. Drop a comment with the sleeper you'd bet your money on in a street run, and while you're at it, subscribe so you don't miss the next outlaw hiding in JDM history. 4. Honda Civic RS, 1975. The 1975 Honda Civic RS looked like any other small hatchback from the era: compact, cheerful, almost harmless. Yet this was Honda's first attempt at making a truly sporty road car, and beneath its friendly shape was a surprising amount of attitude. Honda tuned the RS with far more intent than its size suggested. Its 1.2-liter inline-4 produced around 75 horsepower and 67 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 13.5 seconds, and top speed was around 95 miles per hour. Those numbers seem modest now, but in a featherweight body, the RS felt responsive and playful, offering a driving experience far livelier than its competition. What made the RS special wasn't straight line performance, it was the handling. Sharper steering, revised suspension, and short gearing made it eager through corners, almost daring the driver to push harder. It was one of the earliest examples of Honda's philosophy: light, balanced, fun. But as emissions laws tightened in the mid-70s, Honda's high-revving, sporty carb setup became a problem. Certain markets rejected the RS outright due to compliance issues, and others imposed restrictions that made importing early Civic RS models difficult or illegal without heavy modification. Its flaws were simple: basic interiors, limited power, and thin body panels that did didn't age well. But none of that stopped the RS from becoming a cult favorite among enthusiasts who recognized its significance. Today, the 1975 Civic RS remains a rare sight, often restricted by age-related emissions and safety standards. A tiny hatchback that showed the world Honda's performance DNA long before VTEC ever arrived. 3. Suzuki Fronte Coupe LC10W. Small, quirky, and almost toy-like, the Suzuki Fronte Coupe LC10W looked more like a cheerful city runabout than anything capable of stirring excitement. Yet this tiny machine hid an attitude far bigger than its size suggested, especially when you heard what was sitting behind the rear seats. Suzuki equipped the Fronte Coupe with a high-revving two-stroke engine that loved to scream. Its 0.36-liter two-stroke inline-3 produced around 37 horsepower and 31 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 17 seconds, and top speed was around 78 miles per hour. On paper, nothing impressive, but this was a featherweight K-car built to dance, not drag race. With the engine mounted in the rear, an ultralight body, and sharp, responsive handling, the LC10W felt surprisingly alive on tight roads. Drivers praised its playful nature, the way it darted through corners, and the unique soundtrack of its high-revving two-stroke engine. It became a cult favorite for enthusiasts who appreciated momentum driving long before it was trendy. But two-stroke emissions became a global target in the late 70s. As regulations tightened, many countries banned or restricted imports of Fronte models outright due to smoke output and outdated emissions equipment. Safety standards were also a hurdle, leaving the LC10W non-compliant in multiple regions. Yes, it had limitations: minimal power, basic comfort, and a temperamental engine, but none of that erased its charm. Today, the Suzuki Fronte Coupe LC10W stands as one of Japan's most charismatic K-sleepers. Tiny, loud, unconventional, and now restricted in many parts of the world because it simply belonged to a different era. 2. Mitsubishi Galant Lambda. The Mitsubishi Galant Lambda carried the look of a smooth, stylish Grand Tourer. Wide stance, long doors, and that late 70s futuristic vibe. It looked more like a comfortable cruiser than anything built to surprise drivers. But underneath the sleek lines, Mitsubishi hid a powertrain that gave this coupe far more bite than most expected. In its higher-spec trims, the Lambda came equipped with a solid-performing engine for its class. Its 2-liter inline-4 produced around 120 horsepower and 120 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 11 seconds, and top speed was around 112 miles per hour. Not headline numbers, but paired with rear-wheel drive and a smooth, balanced chassis, the Lambda had a quiet confidence that made it a surprisingly capable road car. The interior leaned toward luxury, and the styling combined sharp lines with a fastback profile that still turns heads today. Mitsubishi marketed it as a personal luxury coupe, but enthusiasts quickly learned it had enough performance to keep up with sportier rivals. The Lambda's handling was predictable and stable, making it a comfortable, long-distance driver that still had spirit when pushed. However, emissions tightening in the late 70s created trouble. The Lambda's carbureted engines struggled to meet new standards in multiple markets, and updated safety requirements made certain variants non-compliant. Over time, several trims became restricted or illegal to import without costly modifications. Sure, it wasn't perfect. Fuel economy was mediocre, weight wasn't on its side, and parts availability declined with age. But the Lambda delivered style and hidden capability in a way few expected. Today, it stands as a forgotten JDM coupe with unexpected skill, remembered not just for its looks, but for how quietly it slipped into restricted territory as regulations evolved. 1. Nissan Cherry F2 Coupe. The Nissan Cherry F2 Coupe looked like a friendly little commuter, compact, curved, and almost too innocent to take seriously. But this was Nissan's attempt to inject real personality into a small car, and the result was a coupe that handled far better than anyone expected from a modest 70s hatchback. Nissan gave the F2 Coupe a surprisingly lively powertrain for its size. Its 1.4-liter inline-4 produced around 85 horsepower and 83 pound-feet of torque. It reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 13 seconds, and top speed was around 99 miles per hour. Those numbers don't sound wild, but its lightweight and quick revving character made the car feel far more energetic on the road than its figures suggested. Front-wheel drive gave the Chery F2 a level of grip and confidence rarely found in affordable Japanese cars of the time. The steering felt direct, the chassis nimble, and the coupe format made it more playful than the standard Chery sedan. On tight city roads and backstreet corners, it genuinely surprised drivers with how eager it felt. However, as emissions standards evolved in the late 70s, Nissan's carbureted engines, especially high-compression versions, struggled to meet newer regulations in several markets. Safety requirements also changed rapidly, leaving certain Chery F2 configurations non-compliant. Over time, this pushed the model into restricted or banned import status in multiple regions. It had simple flaws: modest power, basic interiors, and thin body metal that didn't age gracefully. But none of that erased its charm. Today, the Nissan Chery F2 Coupe stands as a forgotten little performer. Not fast, but full of character. A car that quietly slipped into illegal territory as the world moved past its era. These 1970s sleepers prove one thing: Japan was building monsters long before the world realized it. Cars that looked innocent but hid power, precision, and engineering so bold they ended up restricted, forgotten, or outright banned. Yet they still whisper their legends today. And here's the twist: the machines we uncovered are only the beginning. The deeper you go into JDM history, the stranger, faster, and more forbidden the stories become. If you want those secrets, stick around. And before you leave, drop a comment telling me which Outlaw you'd resurrect. Hit the like button if you discovered something new, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of Japan's hidden legends.